Hello, everyone. So today I'm back with a brand new lesson. I was supposed to take this class yesterday, but couldn't. But now I'm here. Um, so yeah, let's wait for some students to join. Today's lesson is going to be very interesting. I've specially designed for students who has a problem in this particular area. So yeah, if you haven't liked our Facebook page, do not hesitate to go to Facebook and like our page. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just type in Fyruz Education Services and you should be sorted out. So yes, let's wait for some students to join and then we can start off as soon as possible. I can see that we have some viewers. So yeah, so today I'm going to introduce you to a person. So the person that you see on the screen is one of my closest and best friends, my childhood friend. So his name is Mehdi Hassan. This picture is quite cool, and that's why I have it here. It was in my previous office, and it was winter, very cold, and I took this picture all of a sudden. So yeah, his name is Mehdi, and we've been friends for the last 15 years. He's a great guy. And professionally, we studied together. When we were in school. Now he's into the shipping business, freight forwarding business. If you need a formal word, so he's in the shipping business, and he's doing great in his career. And he also sometimes does secondhand car business, buying and selling of secondhand cars. It's quite interesting. Okay, sometimes he does that. So recently, again, his a very cool picture of him here in front of a car. I think he took this picture on Eid. As you can see him, it feels like an occasion. I just took it down from Facebook and I did not ask for his permission. So yeah, it's going to be fun. So recently he bought a Toyota Corolla for £890. Okay, so he bought a Toyota Corolla for £890, and we know that Toyota Corolla is very, very famous all over the world, and it's quite cheap. And then he sold it for £990. Okay, he bought a Toyota Corolla for $890 and he sold it for $990, which is good. He made some extra money, which is good. So when you deduct or when you minus 990, $890 from 990, you have £100. Now the question is, what do you call this £100? What is it? Is it profit? Is it something else? Is it contribution, or is it adding value? What is it? Now, most of you I know will tell me that, sir, it's profit because, its selling price is $990 and he bought it for $890. But no, it's not that simple. £100 that he made extra is known as contribution per unit. Okay? It's not profit because he also has other expenses. £890 is not the total expense. £890 is only his variable cost. With £890, he bought a car. Okay, but he has an office. He has some staff. He needs to pay for that, right? So £100 is not the profit, my friends. £100 is contribution per unit. Okay, so per unit, he's generated some extra money, and that's £100. Okay, so in this case, selling price is £990. Okay, variable cost is £890. £890 is not the total cost price. It is variable cost because he used that money to buy the car itself, right? And he may have additional expenses like administrative expenses and renting an office, paying salaries, paying wages. Yes, so £100 is known as contribution per unit. I've written in short form, so it's CPU, contribution per unit. But now if you want to know the profit, what you have to do is find out his fixed cost. So let's assume that his fixed cost is £60. Now simply minus 100 minus 60, £40 will be the profit per unit. Okay. So this is contribution per unit. So whenever you make extra money, don't assume that's the profit. That is contribution per unit. That's the extra money that you've generated from that unit. And you may have extra, expenses like wages, salary, rent, administrative expenses. When you minus that, when you minus your fixed costs, then you will have profit. Okay, so this is per unit. So this is Mehdi's story, and he's doing quite well in his career. Um, let's go ahead and see. So yeah, I have explained you this thoroughly. Um, so yeah, so this is contribution per unit. But then what happens now? Now we've just talked about contribution per unit for just one single item. What happens when you are running a factory? What happens when you have thousands and thousands of items? So think about a jeans manufacturing company. Okay, a company that makes trousers, let's say, right? So think about them. Okay, and a jeans manufacturing company or a trouser factory will make millions or thousands of units. Okay, not just one single item. They will make a lot. Okay, so in this case, let's say they make 1,000 pair of jeans or 1,000 pair of trousers, and each unit, the selling price is £9. You sell it for £9. And the variable cost again per unit is £7.50. Okay, so what you have to do is, since this is selling price per unit, you have to multiply £9 into 1,000 and then minus variable cost per unit, so 750 into 1,000, and you'll get £1,500. Okay, so £1,500 is the contribution. So in this scenario, when you're finding contribution of a lot of units, this is the formula, this is the mathematics that you have to follow. Okay, you need to find out the total revenue, and then you need to find out the total variable cost. So when you have to find out the total contribution of a lot of units together, this is the formula that you need to look at. Okay, total contribution equals to total revenue, TR, minus total variable cost, or TVC. Okay, so in this case, £9 into 1,000, and then 750 into 1,000. When you minus it, when you do the mathematics, you'll get £1,500. So £1,500 is the contribution for 1,000 pair of jeans. It's not the profit. Now, if you want the profit, or if you want to know the profit, you have to find out the expenses. Okay, what are my fixed costs? What are the expenses? And then deduct it from £1,500. Then only you will get the profit. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So let's talk about something else. So this is a screenshot of FAS's website that we've taken, and we started FAS back in 2015. And whenever you start a new business, it is quite difficult. It's very, very challenging. And when you start a new business, most of the time, your business objective is survival. Okay, you've studied this in your business objective chapter, I think chapter 3 or 4 in Cambridge book. In Edexcel also, it's quite early out there. So one of your objective when you start a new business is survival. Survival means you do not want to make a loss, nor you don't want to make so much of profit. You just want to survive, stay there, because there are a lot of competitors. You don't have a loyal customer base, so it'll take some time for you to settle down. So during that period, usually 3 to 5 years, what you do is your objective is to survive. You neither want to make loss or you want to make profit. You just want to stay there. Okay. Let's say, when I started, my fixed cost was 70,000, including rent and salary. Okay. The variable cost, which includes, raw materials or other expenses, buying toiletries, buying tea, or it depends on the business, what kind of business it is. So for us, the variable cost was literally like, buying teas and toilet rolls and hand wash, all of those stuff. And that was 25,000. So my fixed cost was 70,000. Variable cost was 25,000. If you add them up together, it's 95,000. So my break-even point is 95,000. If I don't want to make a loss, I at least need to generate 95,000 taka in revenue. So if I generate 95,000 taka per month, then I will not make a loss, not even I will make a profit. At least it's there, safe. I'm safe. I'm not paying money from my pocket. Okay, so that's quite important. When you start a business, you need to know your break-even point. So this break-even point is given in revenue, in taka, in money. Okay, so you at least need to generate 95,000 taka. Now, since we are an education institution, it is also pertinent and important to know, okay, I know that we have to generate 95,000 taka, that's fine. But how many students we must have to generate 95,000 taka? How many students do we require? So you can go ahead and do some math as well. Per student, we charge for one subject, we charge 4,000 taka. So 95 divided by 4,000, very simple mathematic. So we need at least 24 students for at least one subject. Okay, so we need 24 students to enroll for at least one subject to break even, or you can say we need 95,000 taka to break even. So you can calculate break even in two ways, and those two ways are in revenue, in taka. There you go, revenue. How much money do you need? Or it can be number of units. In my case, as I said, it depends on business to business. In my case, it's number of students. For others, it may be number of units. Okay, so there you go. So this is break-even point, and today's chapter is based on break-even point. But this is more, for our business to find the break-even point is more straightforward because it's a service industry. For manufacturing industry, the way may be a bit different. So we will have a look at that. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to comment down on the comment section. It's a great chapter on break-even. Easy, but quite important. Okay, so let's go ahead. So it's very important to know the break-even point because that's the point where you don't make any profit nor you make a loss. So you know that, okay, or I know that I at least need to make 95,000 taka or at least have 24 students not to make any losses. Okay, so that this figure is very, very important, right? It's highly significant, especially for startups, because if you start making losses early on, then it pressure may build up on you. Okay, so yeah, and after 95,000, whatever you make after 95,000, whatever you make is the profit. So if you make 120,000 taka, it's the profit. Okay, if I have 28, 29 students, I know that I'm comfortable because my break-even point is 24 or 95,000. So let's talk about another example. This is my daughter sitting on an iron park benches. So yeah, it's a beautiful picture. So I just wanted to share this with my viewers or students. So there we go. So these are beautiful iron park benches, and she was just chilling, sitting down. I was a bit tired carrying her, so we were just sitting down and adoring the nature. These iron park benches was made by Mr. Jack Cadwalder. The name is here. So Mr. Jack Cadwalder has been in the business for a very long time. Okay, so let's try to find his break-even point. Okay, so his fixed costs are 60,000 pounds. We can see here, fixed cost is 60,000 pounds. Okay, variable cost is 40 pound per unit. Selling price is 100 pound per unit. Okay, and he sells this, this iron benches in different cities in America and UK. So his fixed cost is 60,000 pound. Fixed cost means paying salaries, rent, wages, and variable cost may be raw materials. Okay, so if you just deduct variable selling price from variable cost, you will get contribution. So his variable cost is Selling price is £100 and his variable cost is £40. So if you minus it, £60 is the contribution. So this is the formula. If you want to find contribution, selling price minus variable cost. So £60 is the contribution. Now, if you want to find out the break-even point, what you have to do is use this formula. Break-even point equals to fixed cost. You need to know the fixed cost divide by contribution. If you don't have contribution, you need to find out contribution, and this is the formula. Selling price minus variable cost. So we know the fixed cost is 60,000. So 60,000 divided by £60 is equals to 1,000 benches. So Mr. Jack Cadwalder, in order to break even, he needs to make 1,000 iron park benches. Iron park benches just like this, 1,000 units. Okay, so this is the way, for manufacturing items, you need to find out. So if you want to find out the fixed, if you want to find out the break-even point, at first you need to find the contribution. Okay, because the formula for break-even is fixed cost divided by contribution. So find out the contribution, very easy. Selling price minus variable cost, you get £60, and then 60,000 divided by 60, you get 1,000 benches. So he needs to produce at least 1,000 benches before he makes a profit. Okay. If you have any questions regarding the formula, please do not hesitate to ask me. So yeah, you can comment down on the comment section. And further, you can go ahead and represent this on a break-even chart. Charts are quite useful because it clearly shows you things, and it becomes easy for people to understand. So we will have a look at a break-even chart based on Jack Cadwalder's business. So let's have a look. So this is the break-even chart, and why is it important? What does it show? So the break-even chart firstly shows you fixed costs. There you go. For Mr. Jack Cadwalder, the fixed cost is £60,000. There you go. And then it shows his variable cost. There you go. This is the variable cost. Okay. When you add them together, it shows the cost. Okay. And this is the break-even point. Mr. Jack Cadwalder needs to make at least 1,000 benches to make profit. Okay. So this is the break-even point. When you add everything together, this is your total cost. When you add fixed cost, variable cost, that's the total cost. Okay. And anything above that is your profit, total revenue. Okay. So there you go. So you have x-axis, y-axis, right? This shows number of units, and this shows your costs and profit. Okay. So again, so this is your fixed cost. This is your variable cost, right? When you add them together, it's a total cost. And this is the point, break-even point. You at least need to make £100,000 or 1,000 benches. Anything below the break-even point is a loss. Anything above the break-even point is a profit. Okay, so you don't want to make anything less than 1,000 benches or £100,000. If you make more than that, then it's your profit. So break-even chart really shows you a lot of things. So it shows you fixed cost, variable cost. When you add them together, you get the total cost. It shows you the level of profit. It shows you total revenue, right? Okay. So it'll show you different things. Like if you produce 1,500 benches, how much money will you make? If you make 1,200 benches, how much money will you make? Or if you make 800 benches, how much loss are you going to make? Okay. Yeah. And we've already talked about anything that you make beyond this point, beyond anything which is less than this point, anything below the break-even point is a loss. Anything above the break-even point, above it is a profit. Okay. Yeah, there we go. And you will also see that, I think 1,000 benches is not a lot. 1,000 benches is quite a low amount. So when you make less, your fixed cost will always be more, because fixed cost never changes. You have to pay it whether you make less or whether you make more. When you make more, you enjoy economies of scale. So your fixed cost will be less and your variable cost will increase, because when you make more, let's say instead of 1,000 benches, I will make 2,000 benches. My fixed cost will still be the same, 60,000 pounds, until and unless I hire more space. So even if I make 2,000 benches, my fixed cost will remain the same. It'll be here. But my variable cost will increase because I need more irons, more raw materials to make those 2,000 benches. So when you make more, this portion of variable cost will increase and fixed cost will remain the same, right? So that's the break-even chart, And I would also like to talk about one more important thing, and that's margin of safety. Let's say, Mr. Jack Cadwalder, to break even, he needs to make 1,000 benches, right? But instead of making 1,000 benches, he's making 1,200. He's making more. Sometimes business, not sometimes, always business will make more, or they will try to make more. So what happens when they make more? This difference between the break-even point and the current output is known as margin of safety. So if you minus 1,200, because at this point, Mr. Jack Cadwalder is making 1,200 benches, and to break even, not to make a loss or not to make a profit, he needs to produce at least 1,000 benches. So if you minus it, if you deduct it, okay, it'll be 200. That's safety, margin of safety. It's called margin of safety because you're safe for 200 benches. So even if your demand goes down by 100, it's fine because your margin of safety is 200. The more margin of safety you have, the better it is for the business. So, if Jack Cadwalder made 1,400 benches, it would be better because his margin of safety would be 400. Okay? Would be of 400 benches. So your margin of safety is more. So because demand will always not remain the same, it will go up, it'll go down. You may make a loss. So when you're making 1,400 benches, even if your demand drops by 200 or 300, it's still fine because your break-even point is 1,000. So that's why it's known as margin of safety. When you go below 1,000 benches, that's the point, or that's where Mr. Jack Cadwalder will start making loss. Okay? Anything above 1,000 is safety, margin of safety. Okay? So when you have a small margin, I would say this one is a small margin. So when you have a small margin, the risk is more. When you have bigger margins, if Jack Cadwalder would make, let's say, 1,400, 1,600 benches, then his margin of safety would be greater. And in that case, his risks would be lower, right? If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put your question in the section. We will always reply to any of your questions. Okay, so this is the formula for margin of safety. Output, what are you producing at this moment? Okay, let's say 1,200 benches, 1,400 benches minus your break even. Okay, your current output may be negative as well. Let's say you're producing 900 benches. That means you're at a loss of 100 minus 100, right? Great. So that's that. So for today, we will stop here. So we've discussed about a lot of important topics today. So we started off by talking about contribution per unit, right? We've talked about contribution per unit. Then we've talked about total contribution. If you have more than one unit, how do you need to find it out? We talked about manufacturing industries, how they calculate. We've talked about break-even point in terms of my business, FES. We've talked about break-even point for manufacturing industry, given an example of iron park benches. Okay, and then we talked about margin of safety. Yeah, great. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to put it down on the comment section. It was a great class. We will finish this chapter tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow. Till then, stay well, and please do not hesitate to like our Facebook page. Do not hesitate to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just type in Fyruz Education Services. I've just checked our channel. We have around 40 videos, 40 great videos, lessons, right? So if you can't go out, if you don't have a teacher, no problem. You can just learn from our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next one. Stay well. Bye.